Hello, I'm James Loveday. Who am I? Okay, then I'm James Loveday. So, I need to also press this button, which goes like this, and hopefully, yeah, looks like it's working. The other thing is you'll notice on your table there is a pen and paper. If you're not at a table, you might be sitting on top of a pen and paper, okay? If it's hurting, you probably are, okay? So remove the pen and paper and put it on your lap. So, I don't want you taking notes on what I say. I want you, this is really echoey, is it not? Yeah. I want you to write questions that you want to ask because that's more important than notes. Okay, if you write notes, you're going to leave and you're not going to look at them and then it's pointless. Where if you write questions, you're going to ask them and everyone in the room is going to get more educated. So, I'm James Loveday. I am the Managing Director of a charity called Keely's Cause. We specialise in giving iPads to children from low socioeconomic settings in Australia that have intellectual disabilities and neurological disabilities. I am the COO of T&K and I'm very proud that one of my team members that's here today did ask questions, which is always good. Sorry, Rob. Okay, so I am the COO of T&K Support Services. We are a non-registered provider, so all the other non-registered providers in the world, that's okay. We are currently working towards registration, like most people in this room. You know, we're just waiting in the line to be saying, yes, tick. But we specialise in working with people, basically with forensic disorders. So we work with some of the most complex participants, and we're not registered. So I want you guys to remember that. Doing a very niche market and doing it well does not mean you have to be registered at the same time. But I am here today because of Support Navigator. So Support Navigator is a consulting company that I am one of the partners in, and we believe in innovating and educating the sector. Okay? A lot of people will be like, hey, spend money on me and I'll help you. No, we're like, we make money and we spend it on trying to help the sector with advice. So that is us. Cool. So not so much today, but normally I talk a lot about service delivery and I use a lot of stories of other people with disabilities. And I think that it is inappropriate for me to do that, like if I was talking about the traditional owners of Australia. So I just want to recognise that I'm a proud neurodiverse man and I acknowledge that I identify as having a disability and I stand here as a representative and a voice and pay my respects to other people with disabilities. I feel like in this sector quite often what we do is we get up and we talk about our sector, we talk about people with disabilities, but we don't recognise we're actually sharing other people's stories. And that's a really big part of what we do, and we need to recognise that. Cool. What do I know? That's what I'm here for. So, pre-NDIS. I was here pre-NDIS, not in Victoria. I was up in Queensland working with children with sociopathic disorders. I got moved here during the NDIS rollout. Pre-NDIS, we had block funding. It was... when I worked in block funding, I felt like all I learned how to do was how to cook the books around numbers. And when the NDIS came in, I learned that every dollar had to be spent on every hour that we served. And I loved that concept. For every hour we do service delivery, we get paid. It's not about, we have 40 people sitting here some of the time, but we get paid for 40, but there's only 20. Sometimes there's 2. I didn't like that. So that's one of the things I love about the NDIS. I was here in pre-concept, the rollout, and the whole of the NDIS, I've been around. So I have a fair bit of knowledge, and here we are currently today under the NDIS, and people are scared, people are worried. I'm kind of neither, I guess. So that's what we're going to talk about a bit further. Bam. Cool. That should have a 5 at the end of it. So, you gotta love Canva. So, yes. And that was all done on AI, so I blame AI, not me. So, 2025. Okay. NDIS. It's been a really interesting year. Okay. We've had lots of changes. We've had lots of pressure. And that's really what I want to talk about. I want to talk about the intimate changes. And then later on, I'm going to talk about what I see in the future. I'm not going to talk about what I foresee within the NDIS in the future because I'm not a tarot reader. I can have an opinion like AI would have an opinion, but is that opinion true? We don't know. So, one of the things I really want to touch on is these are 2 bits of data that came in the last 48 hours. Okay? So, NDS had their state disability sector report. Okay? which is in Victoria 2 days ago. We're in Victoria, so this is relevant information. So if we're looking at this, 81% of providers say they can't keep operating under the current price model. Okay? And 99% of 77% of providers said they offered unfunded service out of the business's costs to participants. Okay? Put your hand up if you work for a service provider where you have gone above and beyond and you have offered services outside of what you've been paid for. Okay? Keep your hand up if you are also what would be classed as a profit provider. Whoa, that's really interesting, isn't it? Aren't we just in it for profit? No, we're obviously not. We're actually in it because we actually love this industry. So that data is really interesting because it's actually quite high in comparison to last year. But the other thing we have to look at when we see this kind of data is this data is very distinct to the not-for-profit sector. Okay? A lot of this data is pulled from not-for-profits, and a lot of the not-for-profits at the moment are closing down. They are ceasing services. From my perspective, as someone who's worked in not-for-profit and now working for profit, and this part will never make it onto my YouTube video because I will be shot, but I feel like business structures are the reason that certain organisations don't work. It's the way we structure our business, it's the way we choose staff, it's the way we make systems. Okay? And some of the not-for-profit sector have very top-heavy systems that cost a lot of money and they don't work under a model where you only get paid per deliverable hour. When you're being paid per deliverable hour and you've got 20% profit, but all that profit is being spent on a director and a general manager of this and a manager of that and a team leader of that, it's not going to work. So I feel like a lot of the data we see is a bit skewish. The other thing that is really hard to read, because that was the only way I could get it, is that as of this morning, they did change some of the categories. Okay? So this is something I would get you guys to look up. They have changed, like sport coordination and recovery coaching is now the same line item. They've defined the difference between SGA and home modifications. And you'll see that it's in those three base budgets. So this is something that everyone should be looking into because this is now. Okay, this is literally, what's the time now? Can't read the time on an analog clock, but it was about 12 hours ago it got dropped. Yes. So that is a great question that I do not have an answer to. Okay. One of the other things is I'm truly honest. I did know you were coming today, Karen, and I do know you are a Karen, so you would ask a question like that. But hey, it's fine. It's fine. I also do have a full-time job where I have to focus on other things. But yes, I will find out how you do that. But what I would do when it comes to questions about plans and pricing, I normally go to plan managers and go, hey, how the have you worked this out? Because we can't. Okay, so my answer is I would probably go to Karen. If Karen's going to me, we're going around in a vicious circle. Okay, cool. So, what is the difference between a hug and a squeeze? Okay, we've had a lot of changes to the sector at the moment, okay? And some people feel like they're being squeezed out of it. And some organisations feel like they're just getting a really tight, warm hug. Okay? I feel that with a lot of the changes, so one of the things I've said for quite a while is we've had a surge in service providers. Okay? In any outsourced market, you know, you get as many providers as possible and you rip them all down. Okay? I feel we're in a rip down stage. Okay? They're trying to lower the numbers from a management perspective, from the NDIS perspective. They want less service providers to manage, okay? Which means it's a squeeze. They're literally trying to squeeze people out, okay? But if you take that squeeze and turn it into a hug and you look at why they're trying to squeeze people out and look at what that relationship is, you can take it as a hug and go, well, if we do this, this and this, we're not going to be squeezed out. We're going to see it as a hug. And I just really like that AI come up with that picture, so. Cool. So, one of the other things that came out a while ago, and I'm not going to judge anyone that has banners in this room, but everyone that has a banner in this room, in theory, is breaking copyright law at the moment. So, and registered trademarks. One of the things that you guys and girls might not know is that we support the NDIS and we love the NDIS, being removed from usage. So on any new marketing, do not use them. The other thing that's really interesting is that we love the NDIS and we support the NDIS actually means you're unregistered. And a lot of registered providers are using that. So like nothing, I'm not pointing out those guys over there, but in theory it says, we love the NDIS, registered service provider, okay? That's in a complete contradictory. Oh yeah. And they just, they keep on changing it. So what they've done is basically gone, oh, that didn't work. Oh, that's not good. Oh yeah, sorry, it's there. So, basically going forward, the only logo that can be used is NDIS registered provider, and you must be an NDIS registered provider to use that, okay? That's basically what they've said. It's a square, got to get rid of the circle, that's what it is. Cool. These are stats as of the 30th of September because the next stats won't come out until the 30th or 31st probably of December. So at the moment we have 202,000 in theory Victorians currently receiving NDIS support, okay? 136,000 of them are new. So pre to NDIS, they did not have support. Okay? These are people that are new under the NDIS system. And in the last 3 months only, under 6,000 new participants have joined the scheme. Okay? What we need to remember is when I go back to talking about the past to the present, when I started in this industry, we were starting when these numbers were coming on. Okay? We had massive growth stages. We had organisations. I could go into a psych ward and go, I want you, I want to support you, I want to support you, and I've got a whole organisation that I've built an organisation within a month, in theory. We don't have that anymore. So we have to be way more savvy around how we deal with getting participants. That's what we're going to talk about. So, now that we've spoken about the complexities, not really the complexities, but what 2025 was like, we're going to, let's just put 2025 in the toilet, okay? And let's look at the future. So, I just keep on forgetting it's up there. So, to go forward, we really need to define what our purpose is. When we talk about a squeeze in relation to a hug is definition. It's the definition of love. It's the definition of feeling comfort. The squeeze is the definition of, that's not very nice. I don't like that. Okay? So we really need to define where we're sitting. So, I'm going to talk about three things. Organizational identity and purpose, technology and systems, and then growth. Okay? And I think that it has to follow this process. If you do not have an organizational identity and purpose in 2026, there is no point having great technology and great systems, because in theory, you don't have a purpose. People don't come to you because you know how to use AI. People don't come to you because you have a great management structure. They come to you because you have an identity within the industry. And then the growth only comes if you've got both of them together. So, organization, identity, and purpose. Okay, so anyone that's seen me present before, which I feel sorry for you because I just use this kind of slide over and over and over again. Okay. What is your company story? Why are you here? Okay. Okay. And I'm going to explain this, okay, with a bottle of red wine. This is a bottle of red wine, okay? It says Shiraz on it. I know I shouldn't have brought it. I'm sorry, guys. I promise I will not drink it. Someone might drink it after, but I promise it will not be open. Okay. So this is a bottle of red wine, okay? It's Shiraz. I could say to you, I have a bottle of red wine, it tastes really good and it's Shiraz. And people go, I like Shiraz. I'll drink Shiraz, okay? That's like saying I'm a core service provider and we're really good at what we do, okay? But if I tell you the story behind this bottle of Shiraz, you're going to go on a journey, and that's what people are going to buy into. So this bottle of Shiraz here, okay, it's a small batch Shiraz, okay? It's so small that all the vineyards that made this were actually in 10 men's different backyards in St. Albans. 10 guys that all went to high school with each other in St. Albans grew wine grapes. They come together once a year and they make 1,000 bottles. Okay? They put their family love into it. They put their mateship into it. This is the time those men come together and share mental health stories. Okay? Now, are you more likely to buy this bottle of Shiraz? You can't buy it because that would be illegal to sell something that's been made in someone's backyard. But later on, if someone asks you a good question, you can have a bottle. So the difference is I can say it's just a Shiraz, or I can tell you the story behind it. Okay. So part of that company story is the company story. What brought you to the industry? I mentioned with the Shiraz that it's a bunch of 10 guys that went to high school with each other. They get together once a year and make this bottle from their own backyard, and it's a good mental health experience for them. That is that company story. Okay. That's what brought them to the wine industry. Okay. What makes them different? It's made literally just over there in someone's backyard. That's where it's made. Like it's local. People like local. And what do? And they don't sell it because that would be illegal, but they do give it away. So you need to look at who you are as a company. So that might be the company story of T&K, okay? A lady who had mental health concerns with her son, and her son has spent a bit of time in a secure facility, decided that she wanted to change how mental health supports happened. She wanted to change how people with mental health supports were seen. So she started a company. It's just a normal NDIS company, but that was her purpose. What brought her to the industry? I've already explained that. What makes her different? She is someone that has such a good relationship with mental health facilities and the court system because of her past experience that people make referrals to her. People trust her. And what do they do and they don't do? They do mental health and neurodiversity. They don't do bariatric assistance and wheelchairs. They've defined where their purpose is. They've defined what they want to do. Cool. So, these sheets will all be on the QR code, but whenever you're doing anything, you need to do some analysis. A lot of people that I've worked with from a consulting purpose within this industry they've gone, I want to be an NDIS service provider, but they haven't really looked at the market and how the market works for them. Okay? So, you want to look at what you have. Okay? You want to look at what your customer wants, and then you want to look at what the competitor's not giving them. And what's in that middle point is actually your sweet point. Okay? But what you want to do is do this for every service you have, every customer you have, and every region you have. Because you might be registered for all the services, but in theory, if there's a service you're not good at, why are you focusing on it? Because that's not a service that you're going to grow. Okay? That's not going to help you define who you are. When it comes to customers, a lot of people think of customers just as the people we support, the NDIS participants. From my perspective, when I do something like this, my customer is the support coordinators. My customer is the criminal justice system. My customer is the mental health facilities. My customer is anyone that's going to have an interface with me. So I do one of these for every single customer. And I look, what does that customer want? That customer wants clear, transparent this. This customer wants to feel seen. This customer wants to feel this. Okay? And then, what are the competitors not giving them? And then I take all of those sheets, do it for every region, and I do a deep dive and go, okay, what do I decide to do and what do I decide not to do? This is the approach that I take. Okay? If you have something that is valuable and common, you might be a great NDIS service provider, but what you're doing is so common, you're just going to be fighting. It's all about price. And that in any other industry is where you see people dropping their price over and over and over again to get the customer in. If you're doing something that's common but not valuable, sorry, but you're a little bit dumb. Okay? I'm sorry to say it, but if you're doing something super common and not valuable, you're not going to, it's not a valuable business. It's not valued within the market. If you're doing something that's not valuable and it's unique, in theory, I just feel sorry for you because you've made a really bad decision and you're not going to succeed. But if you just chose something that's valuable and unique, basically, you are the best you can be. Okay? You've made a conscious decision to do something that people want and something that is very small within the market at the same time. So I could say for price, I'm a core service provider. Okay? I could say, and I hope I'm not going to push anyone to an outlier, but I could say for the kind of dumb that you're a common service, so you might be, so price, so for dumb it might be you are so dumb might be that you've decided to start a service in a really saturated market, okay? You decided we are only going to service this area, but there happens to be, normally I show a stat around how many service providers are in most regions based on postcode. And it normally starts at about 7,000 people that are organisations. That's just registered organisations that are registered for a postcode. So that would fall into that. SAD is, look, we're going to do bariatric support in the desert. Okay? Cool. There is no one that needs bariatric supports in the desert. So why are you doing it? Yes. I would say sad or dumb would be doing it without having predetermined relationships with foundational supports and stuff like that, and understanding. I wouldn't go from working at a specialist school like the Western or Northern Autism School and go, I'm going to start an autism specific service at the moment. But if I was someone that offered autism specific services and I had really good relationships already, so it might be that you work in that cross section between neurodiversity and mental health, okay? With that complexity, it's always going to be funded, okay? That would put you into a unique space. Do you get what I mean? So it's really about looking at so when it comes to autism, you might be a great autism provider, but what you might also specialise in someone with Prader-Willi, okay? So you've got the autistic tendencies, but then you have the overlay of the food, the saturation around food, okay? So you're an autism provider, but you specialise in this particular area. So that's a very particular skill set within your staff members that you would need to be able to do that. Very particular training, okay? So that's how I would see that. Great question. Technology and systems. Okay, so we can have the greatest organisation with the greatest plan, but without the right technology and the right systems. And within technology and systems, this also means people. People are a part of the systems of our organisations. We're just going to fail. So, are your systems working for you? Okay? Bobby spoke about AI before, and I'm not someone that uses AI. Bobby uses AI, I don't use AI, because as a system, it wouldn't work for me. I don't understand it. I would spend a lot of time focusing on something that, one, I don't really want to understand, and two, I don't really understand how to implement it, so it would be a total waste of my time. So what I see with a lot of service providers is that they go, we need to implement this system, okay? What they don't realise is that they don't understand the system enough on how to implement it properly. I see this a lot with CRMs. A lot of people come up to a lot of people that like shift care and, brevity and there's billions of different shift care, different forms of CRMs out there. And people go, what is the best CRM? No, the best CRM for me is this. But for your company, it might be this. For this other company, it might be something that you build on Monday.com. Okay? Because your systems have to work for you. Don't just because someone else is using a system, pick it up and go, it's going to work for me. Because their knowledge is the reason it works for them. So yeah. Cool. So, I'm really big on staff management, and I am the kind of manager that wants to basically just delegate to people. Okay? When I ask someone to do something, I do it from the expectation they know, or I believe they can do it, okay? I also believe that with AI is like having another staff member, and we need to treat it like that, okay? So, with any staff member, if we're micromanaging them, we're spending a lot of our time on that staff member, okay? And in spending a lot of time on that staff member, we're actually taking a lot of time away from what we need to do as business owners, operators, business development managers, service delivery. So it's cutting into our home time. We get very, very stressed about it when we're having to micromanage people, okay? What we should be doing is pushing people towards coaching, where we're coaching someone. We're coaching them to get to that point. So they're slowly going over towards delegation, or we're supporting them. For some people, they're great, and then you just need to come in and go, hey, here's this little bit of support. And then we've got delegation, which I love, because when you delegate, people are on their A game. You can trust that they understand what you want, and that they're going to implement it. And the other thing with delegation is that if someone has a problem with something, they feel empowered to come back to you and say something, okay? And that's normally when they jump back to coach or jump back to support. Now with AI, if you are spending all of your time micromanaging your AI, in theory, it's never ever going to get to the point of delegation where the AI is going to do it for you. What you need to do is coach it like you'd be coaching a staff member. adding all this information, but if it doesn't have the purpose of delegation at the end, you might as well just have a real person doing it. You're not saving any money and you're not saving any time. Growth. Okay, so growth, if I was a skateboarder, right, growth is not me coming off the half pipe and then slowly going up on an angle to the other end, okay? Growth is a staircase, okay? And what people don't understand about growth is step up, level out, understand we're good, step up, level out, understand we're good, okay? Growth is, from a far perspective, growth is a curvature. But in real life, it's staircase. So when I talk about growth, I'm currently working on a project at the moment where I'm looking at growth targets for the company. Okay. Now, some people look at growth targets as a bad thing because you're trying to grow something rapidly. Okay. I see having designated growth targets as a way of growing something sustainably. Because within those growth targets, you look at things like, when is the next time you're going to bring on an office staff member? So you're not in the back going, oh, crap, I forgot about that. When are you, as a business owner or as a director or as a manager, not going to have the capacity to do that anymore because this caseload gets so big? So you talk about everything prior to it happening. So it's a little less reactive. The other thing this allows is your team to have clear expectations. People say that people burn out from growth targets, but giving someone a growth target can actually slow them down. If you've got someone that's trying to grow your company and they're running around like a headless chook having conversations with 20 different people and it's going nowhere, when all they really need to do is have conversation with one person and convert that, they're not going to be as stressed. They're going to have a better outcome. I got interviewed to be with a service provider once, and what they wanted was me, as someone that had come from working in the still space, to go and do lots of little volume. They gave me a growth target of $3 million in the year, okay? And their approach was, we wanted all these little packages, okay? We want this, and this, and this, and this, and this. And I said, well, from a staffing perspective and managing of that, it takes more to manage. So if you have one participant worth $1 million, which not most people in this room have, so that's an unrealistic expectation, or you have 10 participants worth $100,000, which one is harder to manage? The 10. You need more management. So having a growth target that looks at all the different ways that you can get participants at the different price levels, the different inputs, and going, okay, so if we go for one big one and a couple of little ones, our team doesn't fall over. Because what we've seen over the years is that people have grown, and they fall over. Then they have to come to consultants and they need assistance. So growth, people are scared of growth. The other thing about growth is that growth just because someone else is growing is stupid as well. Okay? And you would have noticed before that when I did the circles that I said per region. Okay? A growth that you have in one region is not going to work in another region. Just because I have a lot of people go, oh, look, when we're in Victoria, we grew the business this big and now we're going to New South Wales. We started 10 years ago. Of course it's that big. You're going to New South Wales now. No, you don't know anyone. You're going to go try to hire someone that you've never met before. You can't have the same growth. You don't have the same company ethos. You don't have the same implementation. So when you're thinking about growth and expanding, you really have to make conscious decisions around what that is. Like, Raki's going to be stressed about this, but so everyone, this is Raki, and this is the first time he's seen me present, and he might resign tomorrow. We'll see what happens. But like at the moment, we are a service that just works in the West. We work from Bacchus Marsh to Ballarat. We say Bacchus Marsh, Bland, Ballarat is our area. We've just been offered a participant in Gippsland, 4.5 hours away. We're not doing it, Raki, don't stress, okay? But if I was a silly service provider, so that participant's worth just under $1 million, okay? If I was a silly service provider, I'd go, yes, we can do that. They want our style of implementation over there. The thing is I know that I cannot duplicate the service that I have here over there and give it the same service. I don't have the same staff. I don't have the same management structure. I would be driving backs and forwards. On-call would be insane. I'd have people resign. So when people offer you things that help, you go, oh, this is going to be great growth. You have to go, well, Is that going to be great growth, or is that going to be detrimental to the holistic approach of the company?